Contestant number 3, Wilma Igwe. Monsters. Monsters. Wilma Igwe.
Monsters. We all have them or have had them. But did you know that monsters, like everything else, have a purpose and a ministry? Monsters have a ministry. Now that's hard to believe because you remember when you were in your childhood, those were the creepy things that went bump, bump, bump under your bed. And they rose up out of swollen shadows on your wall and made you scream for your mom in the middle of the night. In your adulthood, sometimes monsters sit beside us at work, sit beside us in worship. Sometimes we find them living in our own home and even lying in bed right next to us. And then there are those monsters that we find piled up on plates that we try to hide from people that might have something to say about those plates or what's on them. Or we will find them swimming, distorted images in the bottom of bottles that we just can't seem to put down. Monsters have a ministry. What is that ministry? Actually, it's to show us about ourselves. There are 3 types of monsters. Or actually, they have 3 types of jobs. But first, there are those that definitely can hurt us. You hear the stories. That person was a monster for what they did. How dare they do that, or say that, or be that way. Monsters can hurt us. But then there are those who will help us help ourselves, and those who will cause us to hurt ourselves. Mr. Toastmaster, contest chair, fellow Toastmasters and wonderful guests, and my beautiful daughter. My mom gave my brother and I 30 minutes to walk home from school. It's about a straight shot, not quite a mile. We were in junior high and we loved the wonders of West Texas, which, in case you've never been to West Texas, the wonders of West Texas are empty buildings, empty train cars, and anything juicy that we could poke or pop with a stick. And sometimes that would distract us as we came home. However, we had to be home in 30 minutes, and then 5 minutes later my mom would call and say, hey, what's going on? She would check in with us. But one day something happened. When I got into junior high, we met monsters. They came in the form of this huge, enormous family of people, lots of them, that moved into the neighborhood, took over 3 or 4 little tract homes, and they were everywhere. And they always stuck together, but they were little units, and they were just like little spiders crawling all over the place. And sometimes we would see them as we'd walk home to school. We're on our way home, gonna get to the phone, see my mom. And those people would stop us and say, what you doing? How you doing? What's going on? And we would banter about school and stuff and things that kids do. But one day it became decidedly uncomfortable. Sorry guys, we gotta go. We're running late. Mom wants us to get home. Oh, you think you're too good for us? Oh, you don't want to talk to us. So you think because you live over there, you're better than we are? No, it's not that. We just got to go home. Let's see what's in your backpack. And they would take our things and throw them in the street and throw our papers. And we were like, dude, we got to get home. And we would run around grabbing papers and grabbing things. And as we were grabbing them, some of those kids started throwing rocks. We lived on a dirt street. And they would throw handfuls of mud and dirt and rocks. And we were so frustrated, but we were trying to get our things. And some things we would leave and we would get home just in time to answer the phone. But we were ashamed to tell Mom that we had been chased down the street. This was our neighborhood. We got along with everybody. What was going on? I felt particularly bad because I realized that I could not protect my brother, who was younger than I was, and I was in charge. And it was hard. These people were monsters. Now, I was as afraid as I was of those people. There was one person that they were afraid of in our neighborhood. His name was David Lane. David had no structure in his life. He had the foulest mouth and the foulest temper. But unlike most bullies that would just punch at you, pick at you, David would provoke you until you were so frustrated that you just lash out. And when you did, he would tear you apart under the guise of self-defense. So he was very manipulative, and he would make you hurt yourself with his fist. Well, one time I got into a fight with David, and I said, dude, you're going to leave me alone. And I don't care, and I'm the boss, and that's the way it is. And then I ran. I was not going to tangle, and I ran. And suddenly I felt a sharp pain in the back of my head, and I didn't know what had hit me, but my mom heard me, met me at the door, and said, what is going on? He hit me! And I was bleeding in the back of the head because David, since he couldn't catch me, picked up a rock and threw it and sailed that half a brick through the air and landed right in the back of my head. My mom went in there in the room, got my dad's belt, walked across the street and said, Leela, I'm here to whoop that boy. And she said, he was in the back. And my mom whipped that boy. Then she came home and whipped me for fighting with him in the first place. Go figure. But one day, my brother and I were running from the Heba people, which is what we call the clan. And David meets us, and so we're like, oh my God, we're sandwiched between two monsters. What do we do? But David said, you got to stop running from those people. You need to stand up. Don't be a punk, girl. I'm not a punk. Yes, you are. Protect your brother. Get over there and fight them. I'm not going to do it. Yes, you are. Well, now I'm scared because I got them on both sides. But David went over there and said, Sandra, she's got something to say to you. And Sandra was the one that happened to be available. Wilma's going to talk to you, and she's going to tell you how she feels. And I said, he said, tell her, I'll beat you down. I was like, okay. I'm tired of you bothering us. Leave us alone. We just want to go home and do what we do. Leave us alone. She said, I don't have to leave you alone. And she picked up a handful of dirt and threw it in my face. And he said, if you let her hit you like that, I will hit you. Well, he's not hitting me. I tore into that girl and I began to hit her. And I hit her because David hit me with a brick. And I hit her because Mama made us hurry. And I hit her because people chased us. And I hit her because I was angry and I was tired of it. And I hit her because she hit my brother. And I never felt so savage and so sickened in my life because that was not a moment to be proud. But I learned something from my monsters. Sometimes you got to stand up and do things that you don't want to do. Sometimes you got to help yourself. Sometimes you got to help somebody else. And sometimes you hurt yourself trying to get there. I learned that my monsters have a ministry. And I'm the woman I am today because I learned